or at least stop to care too much.
I got 12 kilometers to walk.
Here is the beautiful beast. Oh, we're back on the road. It's been hard even to wake up to when you think you are in a ton of shit. Even though I'm like super tired and a bit frustrated.
And just how did I end up in this situation? Well, in 2019, at the end of the year, I bought this property. I was working in Bayern and my future here looked bright. And around 2021, I decided to build a garage, and I think that was fully erected in 2023. And as soon as I had the roof sealed, my life fell apart. But that's a story for another day. Anyhow, there's been so much mess that I haven't actually used my garage for what it was tended for, to have a car inside. It's always been messy and I'm still working on it, but at least I can do some of my projects there. And it's kind of a sanctuary when I can actually work there. But having a house, especially an old one, there is always issues. And in 2022 we had a huge flood here, and I realized I had to work on the drainage, and it goes from here and 12.5 meters that I will actually have to dig by hand. And this is not the way I want to spend life. So at the end of 2025, I bought this van. I bought it from a dealership, and my hope was that I could actually just convert to van life and sell this property. But life did not go as expected, and this van was a fraud. It's full of rust, technical issues, and it kind of becoming incomprehensible for me to fix it. Luckily for me, I got some friends, and an old neighbor decided to borrow me this pickup that is actually bringing up tons of nostalgia, because I used to own a car exactly like this. And that leads us to where we are
As I
today.
think I said before in the videos, there's like one door closes, another one opens. And maybe it's time to start thinking about letting emergency medicine go and focus on something else. And that's been kind of a sorrow, but I think I'm starting to work my way through like Kübler-Ross, I think it is. 5 stages of grief. And if I'm not mistaken, it's like denial, anger, bargaining, depression and acceptance. And you might move through them several times. At where I am, I don't know.
And thinking about it, this was actually my second grief process this month, because I really tried to pull my van through the MOT, or for you freedom fighters out there, the vehicle inspection. I soon realized that this was more than just the brakes and some superficial rust. And I worked late through the nights, really trying. It dawned on me that I need help, and through the different fixes, it started to dawn on me that when I do these fixes, the vehicle is going to be out of commission for days, and I can't have it in regular use. And that led me to quite an interesting journey with a few surprises on its way that might actually change the whole way I think about work and living. And yeah, I know this is a poor animation, but I really tried, and I will continue to use Google Earth.
What happens now that I've given up on the scam van?
I got 12 kilometers to walk.
It's 3:05
in the morning, if you can say so. Then I'm gonna take the bus for almost 3 hours, wait for 4 hours, take another bus for 2.5 hours, and I'm gonna pick up a car someone have been kind enough to borrow me.
So apparently the bus does not continue in direction of Bodø at 17 minutes past 6, and I only got to ride over the Beiarn mountain. And, the next bus is leaving from Beiarn at 8 or something, which I don't think was in the table, because the app says the next bus leaves around 1. So anyhow, we are walking. But we are closer to the destination, and it's 10 kilometers to Misvær. Maybe we get to hitchhike or maybe not. Let's just see what happens. But we're getting closer. It sucks a little bit we haven't got hike. It's beautiful weather and it's a beautiful place. It's 7:45. I think I will actually just find a bus shed and sit and wait for the bus, because we might risk the bus just passing us if we are just walking along the road. We should have walked far enough for these guys to calm down a little bit. Oh, it's still an adventure. Not the kind of adventure I want, but still an adventure. So even though the last week have been super shitty and I didn't feel like doing this expedition, the bus drivers have been super nice and the kids have been awesome at the bus. So that has been really positive experience. So now let's just wave off the bus, and the next bus will be here probably within half an hour. So we got the essentials, some bakery, coffee. The guys are actually behaving quite nice, so I guess they start to get a little bit worn out. Du, vær her. Ja. Ja. Pent. Bra. So this little quest is going quite well. The woman who is renting us the car said she has a friend that is going there in an hour and she could have my dogs. So maybe not be so negative all the time. This is gonna be good. Fin. So I got delivered to a workshop where I'm gonna hitch a hike further to the island where I pick up the car. It's a really, really interesting day. So that's pretty cool. Now I'm just gonna sit here and see if I can get some shut-eye. And this is definitely turning into an adventure, because we're gonna ride that recovery vehicle to where I'm gonna pick up the other vehicle. And I kinda got offered a job here. And I didn't even know where I was, so I said, sure, we can figure out something. Pretty cool. And this is bloody nostalgia, because I used to have a car like this. It's a Nissan King Cab. It's going to be awesome to drive again. I struck a deal with a guy from the workshop. He actually wants me to do some work. So this trip just turned out great, because now I can actually send him invoices and do these jobs when it suits me. And that's just perfect from this hard start today to all this. That's just great. Let's get home or pick up the boys first. And bloody hell, I haven't driven a stick shift in God knows how many years. So the original footage I had when I arrived with the pickup For some reason it's lost. Anyhow, here it is on my property. As I said, it gives a lot of nostalgia having a car like this again. But at that point I didn't have 2 dogs, and it's a bit cramped here with 2 dogs. I love the ease of just loading shit on the truck bed, but when it's raining it's kind of cumbersome with all the dog equipment, but we have a ride. So you might wonder what's gonna happen with the van. The legal process, I have no clue how long that's gonna take. The thing is that I need to change the brake shield, and for doing that I actually need to pull the axle out, and I'm terrified of doing that. So that's why I have postponed it, but I do think I just need to build up the courage and just bloody do it. There's some superficial rust coming back on these spots, so I will start working on them, at least so I can get the van back on the road and use it until the legal process at least have a date. Because I really miss having all the space, and I do actually like driving a big van. So that's the short story of what's gonna happen with the van. So it's like, maybe I lied in the last video, it's not completely given up, but it's kind of limited how much resources I'm gonna put in it until I know what's happening. Well, here's what's going on. Today it's 1st of May, and as of 27th of April I went on sick leave, at least until 13th of May. I won't go into too much details what happened at work, but I have criticized management, and I have done that before. And not going into the specific details about my workplace, I want to say something in general about healthcare. And that's kind of paraphrasing Simon Sinek. Managers need to understand that patients and money are not their priority. It's to take care of the people who take care of the patients. Also paraphrasing Adam Grant with Give and Take, disagreeable givers are often the most underestimated people at the workplace. Disagreeable givers, as I understand the concept, kind of have integrity. They might seem rough on the surface, but they kind of have good intentions. Hence, I don't feel in healthcare and during your time as a nursing student that you are allowed to criticize the system if it's not the disagreeing they want you to do. That aside, I have to admit the moving from the farm and all that process, all this shit with the van, have taken a toll on me, and that is also a contributing factor towards my sick leave. A friend of mine actually told me that paramedics are at the peak of burnout. I don't know the full scope of that, and that's something I have to look into, and I would definitely want to make a podcast out of. So if anyone wants to be in a podcast about paramedics and burnout, please let me know in the comments or just contact me. That would be a really interesting topic. Anyhow, what's happening now is that I will prioritize just bounding and training with my dogs.
So
A
all
lot.
food
Because when I do that,
training sessions,
my mind is kind of freed up
and now
from
we're just
all the
doing
other
the down and
things,
stay,
and it definitely
repeat and
helps me
train.
to relax and get my mind
still
off
have a
things.
way to go.
When I did
it
work at the
comes
farm,
to
I had like a daily routine where I would have my 5 tasks for the day. It would be doing something with the dogs, like training a new skill or honing on skills they already have. It would be a economical task, like just pay one bill or see if there is any way, shape or form you can improve your economy. I haven't done that task today, but I will. I have 2 invoices, and then I had to do something with the car. I will now move that task into doing something with the house. And first priority is just to get my shit sorted out and clean the house. Because having things organized lowers the threshold for doing healthy stuff. So like I had times where I wanted to go running and I'm like, damn it, where are the harnesses for the dogs and where are my running shoes, and I kind of lost before I even found my training gear. But when I have stuff organized and when I do this stuff, it snowballs and accelerates and I do more of what's good for me. And that leads me to the 4th task, that is going to be do something healthy. That might be taking a run. Now I'm starting to have lower back pain, so I will see if I have a training mat and find some exercises I can start doing for my back. Also, it could be to make a healthy meal instead of this processed food. Because that's starting to scare me more and more, this processed food. And also I think we need to go back to being reliable on, wouldn't put it survival skills, but common skills we used to have. And Norwegians, I think, have been known for being quite resilient, but getting all the oil money, we are getting spoiled, and I'm one of those. And if I'm not mistaken, my 5th task of the day when I worked there was to improve something at the farm. But that doesn't matter. My 5th task of the day is going to be something that helps me to convert into the life I want, to live on the road and the freedom of van life. And that could be the legal process with the van, make the faucet system I want with Scepter fuel cans, not fuel cans, water cans, making the kitchen bench from the materials I already have. So even though I might not be keeping this van, I will already have produced some of the furniture for it. If I end up being so lucky that I can buy a fully furnished van, well, I will sell it. And I don't think it will be a waste of neither time, resources or money, because I will learn a ton on the way. There is actually a 6th task, but I think that is intertwined with these other tasks, and that is doing something for my YouTube profile. So every day I'm trying to post 1 short, and on average I make 1 subscriber a day, but that's just fine. I'm doing progress. So you shouldn't measure where you are today, you should measure that progress. Yes! And I think it's better to get all those viewers when your content have reached a higher quality. So it's actually fine if I make 1 subscriber a day, because it's moving the right direction. But those are the 5 tasks, and they don't need to be big. They rather be small. So it could be take out the dishes, clean this cupboard, clean this floor. It's better to succeed in the tasks you put up than making it overwhelming. Because usually I can feel tired and overwhelmed, but when I start, I actually do more than I plan. But when I do plan too much, I don't even get started. I hope that explained my 5 tasks of the day, plus the social media. So if you want to subscribe, sorry for begging, we really need it. You can hit the subscribe button below. I think it might be wise of me to explain my obsession about moving into van life, even though I had all these issues with the process. I know from travels, and I was pretty tired of Thailand when I worked there as a diving instructor, and I met this old wise dude, I think he was from the Royal Marines, and he said it's not about where you travel, it's about the people you meet. And looking into some old studies from wolves, when there was a perception that there was alpha wolves and beta wolves. Even the scientists noticed later that it's not actually true. Because we are forced into social groups by work, where we live, and other circumstances. And that also, I think, forces a hierarchy that can be artificial. It can also be beneficial, as we have seen with agriculture. But there is not only positives with development like industrial development, agriculture development. We also lose some of our natural behavior, I think, where we were more nomads and gather hunters. Because this is where the writings of Robert Sapolsky kind of have influenced me a lot. Because many people still have the perception that oxytocin is a love hormone. No, it's not. It's a bonding hormone. And testosterone creates aggression. And according to Robert Sapolsky and others, that is not true. These hormones are a double-edged sword and can kind of tip with cortisol levels that comes from stress. So testosterone with a low level of stress is actually a courage and pro-social hormone, which makes sense, because if you wander out of your pack and meet another group, it's not advisable to be aggressive, because you're going to be outnumbered and killed. Oxytocin as a bonding hormone with stress levels or uncertain structures, I would say, creates us and them mentality. Who is like me and who is outside the pack or shouldn't be in the pack. So where does this come into converting to van life? Well, I kind of been a nomad my whole life, and this is the longest time I ever spent in one workplace, living in one place, if you can say I've been living here. Usually that cycle is every 3 years. And I just want to roam. So I don't need to end up in these tight situations. I can be like, well, now this day is over and there is time for the next adventure. Without criticizing people who wants to have a normal life, steady income, 9-to-4 job or a stable job or whatever, there needs to be room in society for both. And I want to belong to the latter group that roams. I think it's been kind of in the back of my head for at least 20 years, but for some reason I felt the pressure of trying to adapt to the norm. And again, not criticizing others I met along the way. I think that makes it hard for me to fit in. So I hope that explains why I have this immense urge to just go on the road, because whenever I have the opportunity just to go on the road and be excited for the next adventure, it doesn't matter how much uncertainty I have, because I'm there in the moment. But when I try to have a house and there is uncertainty if I want to be here in this place. I just feel stuck. And even though it's certainty, like you have a fixed roof, you have an income, everything, it's still, for me, stressful. I rather have excitements and hands-on problems that needs to be fixed than all these issues about being stuck and try to fit in. I hope that wasn't a rampage. I hope that explains why this is so important and why we are gonna push on, me and the boys. And no complaining about Bayonne. It's a beautiful valley. There's a lot of nice people here. But I don't feel like I fit in. But be assured, as long as I am here, I'm going to take advantage and enjoy the nature as much as I can.